Welcome to the 57th episode of Katy Perry Fan Club. I am your president. What? Not the Katy Perry Fan Club? What is it? Ketogenic? Welcome to the 5th episode of the Ketogenic Diet. Today we're going to talk a little bit about realistic expectations when it comes to weight loss. I lost 3 pounds this week. We'll get that out of the way. I don't know. The first 2 weeks, the weight loss was pretty substantial. So I think if you aren't super prepared for what's to come, then that kind of sets the tone of this is the type of weight loss you're going to be having. And unfortunately, I knew that to not be the case. Lost weight enough to know that your first 2 weeks are always going to be your highest losses. So I'm not even coming close. I think the first 2 weeks, it was like the week 1 was like just under 15 pounds, and then week 2 was about 15 pounds also. So, or maybe just under, maybe it was like 12. But that set the sort of tone for the weight loss that you would envision. And I even felt a little victim to it because I had heard all this about ketosis and how ketosis forces you to burn your own fat reserve. And so I thought maybe that was normal, and it's not. I was really paying extra attention. I know last week we talked about I was eating a bit too much protein. I really paid attention to protein this week, and stayed at about 20% of my calories were coming from protein. So the macros were something like 78, 22, 2 being carbohydrates and 78 being fat. So that was well under what it should have been, and I'm still only seeing the 3 pounds. So I think that's going to be the new theme moving forward. I don't think there'll be any insane weight loss days, which is why I want to talk a little bit about managing expectations. I think that when a lot of people are going to the gym, or losing weight, or doing anything in life, riding a bike, whatever. We have this expectation that we're going to be good very fast, and oftentimes that's not the case. A lot of times we end up sucking for a long time, and then we slowly get good at it. And it's almost similar to that when you're working out and dieting. I always say the worst thing is that when people are dieting or working out, they get a lot of good results in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. This is especially if you're working out, and then you'll plateau. And people call it a plateau, but I don't even think it's a plateau. I think that's just the normal weight loss, or the normal muscle gain, or whatever it's going to be. You just get a little bit of amplified in the beginning. Part of that is water weight, and part of it is just you're shocking your system. Your system is pretty smart, though. Evolution has built us to be able to evolve and adapt to things. So that's pretty much what your body does. It adapts to what's going on, and that's one of the things that appealed to me about the ketogenic diet, was that forcing your body to treat your fat as an energy reserve. Because what a lot of restrictive diets do, when you cut back too far on calories, people fall into this trap where they think they're doing good, and they'll lose weight pretty rapidly. So a lot of that's water weight, and honestly, sadly, a lot of it is muscle. But this is especially for people like, I hear people at the gym all the time, it seems mostly women, talking about the miracle fat diet, or the belly burner drink, or what the fuck ever. And it's basically like lemon, it's like water, lemon, cayenne pepper, apple cider vinegar, and honey. And they drink it, and they lose a lot of weight, and they feel like, oh wow, this is a miracle. And yeah, you're losing weight, but you're also losing a ton of muscle, and you're losing a lot of the beneficial shit that's actually going to help you burn real fat. And I don't know, I fell into that before in the past, I'm not going to lie, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to avoid. So I was kind of expecting that sooner or later this was going to taper off, and if it didn't taper off, I was going to start to get concerned, just because I knew you can't sustain weight on that level. I think part of the problem is people watch shows like The Biggest Loser, and people lose 70 pounds in 2 months, and I don't know how they do that. I've never been there, but that doesn't seem like the healthiest thing in the world. So I think managing your expectations is a big part of weight loss or anything in life. Managing your expectations and consistency. The results come with time. That's why I never really wanted to say how much weight I was losing, because I didn't necessarily want to become about that. I wanted to track this for maybe a couple months and see how I look different, how I feel different. But I understood that to maybe keep some people interested, and people want to know like the results before they jump in. They want to know maybe if it's something they're interested in. So that's the only reason why I wanted to bring the weight loss into it, was just to show um, whether or not it's working or not. But um, this week, I mean, I feel better than ever. I think my body is getting used to this sort of eating style. Like I'm able to hit the breakdown of fat and protein pretty spot on without even meaning to anymore. And also, I'm getting really good at finding different meals. I think the first 2 weeks I was just eating a lot of the same repetitive thing, which was, my coffee in the morning with butter and MCT oil, and then I was eating chicken with like lettuce, and I was eating lots of cheese and stuff like that. And I'm still eating lots of cheese, but it was kind of like a bare bones diet. I hadn't really gotten too into recipes or even really focusing on like sustainable. I think the way I was eating before, it's not sustainable, not from like a weight loss standpoint, but just from, you're going to get sick of tired of eating the same thing week after week. And so this week, my wife is really good too. She's been finding diets. She's not eating this way, but she's been finding me different meals I can eat. And I didn't want to have to disrupt the whole household, but it's kind of been disrupted. Now my two youngest daughters have decided they're vegan, so our whole household is fucked up the way we're eating. I think my wife is the only person who's still eating normal anymore. But with that said, like I got into making different meals. I've taken some pictures, so I've become one of those people that take pictures of their food. We're either going to start an Instagram, or maybe I'll just upload them on my Instagram and just put that on the website for people that want to check out the meals. But I've learned to make tortilla shells out of provolone cheese. It's fucking awesome. So I've had tacos this week. I'm going to do something similar today. I'm going to make a tostada out of provolone cheese. And so I actually look forward to eating more than I did before. The food was good before, but it was very like, much the food was just fuel. There was nothing exciting. It's not like you're like, ooh, tasty bag of chips. I wasn't like getting super excited. The food tastes good, but it wasn't exciting. So the fat bombs were probably the only thing that I made was exciting. The raw almond chocolate fat bombs. Those are pretty good. And actually, the funny thing about that is I think I made those a couple weeks ago, and I reviewed them and said that that they were good. They've actually been in my freezer now for 2 weeks. I only eat maybe one a day. Like I said, I made it in an ice tray, so you can visualize it's about the size of an ice cube. But they were good initially, but the longer they stay in the freezer, the better they become. I don't know why that is, but it is. So my daughter actually had one last night, and she thought it was awesome. So maybe something to think about if you want to make a big batch of those. If you're thinking of doing something like that, maybe make extra, and because the longer they're in the refrigerator, I don't know if there's a certain point where that changes, but definitely better 2 weeks in than when I had first made them. So something to think about there. I also want to, this coming week, I want to try to make some ice cream. I know this last week I had really just kind of talked about maybe finding new recipes. I got a book, like the Paleo Ketogenic Diet or Paleo Ketogenic Food or some shit like that. I forget what the book was called, but it's something Paleo and Ketogenic. But that book hasn't arrived yet. So once that book arrives, then I'll really be able to look at some new recipes and think of some new stuff to try out and let you guys know how that's going. But yeah, this coming week I definitely want to try to make. It's called like no churn vanilla ice cream, and it sounds pretty gross the way it's made, but it looks good, and people swear by it. But it's basically like whipping cream, raw eggs, some vanilla powder, and some different things. I'm gonna get some dark chocolate as well, some like 95% cocoa dark chocolate, cocoa, coca, and I'm gonna chop that up in little pieces and put that in there as well. So I look forward to that a little bit. Other than that, I mean, there wasn't really much going on this week. Like I said, I'm feeling good. I'm over whatever cold had me. My body has normalized, so whatever, upset stomach or trying to find like a fancy way to say diarrhea, that's gone. So that's good. I haven't noticed any loss of muscle mass or anything like that. I mean, I was lifting very heavy before, so I have noticed like my triceps aren't as big as they were. My chest isn't quite as big as it was. My shoulders and neck seem to be pretty fine, but I think that's more of a result of me not lifting for going on. Shit, it's been 2 months already. That's sad. It's been 2 months, so that's gonna happen. But I don't think any of it is directly related to the diet. I don't feel hungry. I feel pretty good for the most part. But I mean, that's kind of like all I wanted to talk about this week. There's not much going on, so apologize if this isn't an exciting one for you guys. But this is seeming like at this point a lifestyle. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna eat like this forever. I may eventually just cut out the ketosis part and just eat a paleo style diet, which is what I was kind of more into before. I just really wanted to try out this ketosis thing and see what it was all about, and I'm gonna stick with it and see what happens. But it's not really that hard to stick to. Carbs are in a lot of stuff, but once you get used to 5 weeks in of not eating carbs, you don't really miss much. I mean, there's not a whole lot to miss except for the junk food shit, and really that's the shit you're not supposed to be eating anyways. Two things actually, and then I'll kind of wrap this one up, keep it short. I think my house bonds are going to be home soon anyways from school, so I can't go too long with this one today. But two things I wanted to mention. One, I was not fully aware, and I did research this a lot prior, but I wasn't fully aware of how carbs are calculated. So basically, if something has 4 grams of carbohydrates in it, I was counting it as 4 grams of carbohydrates. But if something has 4 grams of carbohydrates and 2 grams of fiber, the fiber portion of the carbohydrates nullifies that portion of the carbohydrate. So I'm going to try to say that in a way that doesn't make absolute madness. If something has 4 grams of carbohydrates and 2 grams of fiber, you basically subtract the fiber from the carbohydrates, so 4 minus 2 equals 2. So that meal actually only had 2 grams of carbohydrates. So it's not quite as restrictive as it had been for me, because I was staying under 20, like a legit 20. If it said 4, I was counting it as 4. I wasn't subtracting the fiber or anything like that. So that may make it a lot easier for some people who are interested in following this diet. And then I completely spaced on the second thing that I wanted to mention. So it must not have been hugely important. Yeah, I can't remember. But like I said, my body's feeling good. My body's normalized. I think to date, I'm down 35 pounds. And I mean, it's been 5 weeks, but it's really, I think I started my first weight login was May 30th, and it's now April 28th. So that's in a 1-month period. It's been 5 weeks, but that's in a 1-month period of the weight loss has been 35 pounds. So, I mean, that's, when you look at it like that, that's pretty great. Like I said, I don't expect month 2 when I look at from, April 30th to May 30th. I don't expect that number to be anywhere near that. But I've also started to take measurements. So maybe when that weight tapers down, I've heard of this phenomenon in people that are doing ketosis and ketogenic diets, especially it seems to be in people that are active. And I've heard of people saying that they've gotten smaller, that they feel smaller but when they weigh themselves, like, a month later, they've actually gained 15 pounds. And the theory is that it's all muscle gain. You see this a lot in like athletes and CrossFit dudes and dudes that are lifting a lot of heavy. I'm not doing anything like that because I can't, because of my back. But I've started measuring myself as I see the weight dropping. I'm pretty sure there's going to come a time where we're seeing like 1 or 2 pounds of weight loss. So I've started taking measurements. I'm curious if that 1 or 2 pounds, will be equal to like inches that we see I'm losing, or maybe I'll be losing more inches. And then you think maybe you're gaining muscle as well. I'm not expecting too much of that right now because, like I said, I'm not working out, but just something that I wanted to start tracking and monitoring. So I think that'll pretty much wrap it up. The main point of this of week 5, I guess the main bullet point or the main takeaway is consistency. And any diet or fitness or anything, you got to have consistency. It's very easy to become, disheartened. I felt that way a little bit too, to be honest with you. I think last week when I only had like 2 pounds or so of weight loss, and I had just come off those huge weeks, and it was a little disappointing. And I started thinking like, man, I'm restricting all these carbs. I think I even mentioned that like that weight loss was not anything amazing. You could have done that on a traditional style diet of mixed macros, but I started thinking about it more this week, and it's like I never got into it strictly for the weight loss. Like, obviously getting in shape is the goal. That's why we're doing this for the fitness section of the website, but that was not the end game. The end game was to really test this and see what this is about and see how it can make you feel. And I told my wife, she asked me how much I lost this week, and I was like, 3 pounds. And I guess the way I said it, she's like, well, that's great, because if you do that every week, you will lose 150 pounds in a year. And I hadn't thought about it that way. And you obviously, the closer you get to your weight goal, you won't be losing 3 pounds anymore. You'd be ecstatic to lose 3. You'll be closer to like a half a pound a week. So one thing to just bear in mind is any weight loss or any result is as slight and as insignificant as it may seem, it adds up. The old saying, how do you move a mountain, or how do you climb a mountain, like one step at a time. And that's kind of, I guess, the takeaway that I want for myself and for anyone who's interested or really wants to lose weight. And just keep that in mind. Like, I know in our culture now, it really sells instant gratification, and we want things immediately, and we want it now. And honestly, we want it with as least amount of sweat and effort as possible. But we just have to understand that things take time, and you're talking about the rest of your life and living a happy life, a healthy life, an active life. And whether you need to lose 150 pounds or you need to lose 10 pounds or you need to lose somewhere in the middle, just remember that every little step is a step towards your goal. If you're not even trying to lose weight, if you want to get big, every extra pound you add to that bench, or to to your lat pull, or to your tricep, or to your dumbbell, or whatever, every pound is a pound closer to your goal. So let's just let that be the takeaway, and we'll just end it here. Consistency, and enjoy the journey. Take part in it. Be present. Don't become so wrapped up in the end game, because the journey is what life is all about. Thank you for listening. As always, if you guys have some feedback or comments for me, I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe this isn't reaching yet, but that know more about the ketogenic diet and may even have better input than I do. And I welcome all input. I'm not one of those people who shies away from learning new things. So I welcome feedback, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you listening. And goodbye.